There are words that destroy the soul forever, words that strip away your name, your dignity, even your right to be called a mother. Go live with the rats, you miserable old hag. That was the last sentence my daughter Andrea screamed at me before slamming the door in my face. 7 days after my husband's funeral. 7 days after burying 42 years of marriage. My name is Arlette Morgan. I am 60 years old, and this is the story I never thought I would have to tell. It all started the morning the lawyer read the will of Robert, my husband. Andrea arrived early, perfumed, dressed in elegant black. I had barely slept. My hands were still trembling from the prayers of the night before. The attorney opened the envelope with professional calm. I waited. I do not know what I was expecting. Maybe words of love. Maybe an explanation of why Robert had been so distant in recent months. What I heard was this. To my daughter, Andrea Morgan. The house in Hillcrest. The beach house in Malibu, and the sum of $8 million deposited in a trust account. I felt a hollow in my stomach, but I thought, it is normal. She is our only daughter. Robert wanted to protect her. Then the lawyer continued almost with discomfort. To my wife, Arlette Morgan, the land and warehouse located at mile marker 47 on the old highway. Silence. Andrea looked up. Her eyes were shining. Not with tears, with triumph. The warehouse. A forgotten place. It had been years since Robert barely mentioned it, always with disdain. It is just an old depot, Arlette. I kept tools there when I started the business. Now it is worth nothing. Why then did he leave it to me? Andrea stood up. She grabbed her Italian leather bag and looked at me with a coldness I had never seen before. Mom, I need you to vacate the Hillcrest house this week. It is mine now. What Andrea, that is our home. You grew up there. It was your house. She cut me off. Now it is mine. Dad was very clear. The lawyer cleared his throat uncomfortably. Andrea left without saying goodbye. I remained seated, with cold hands on my lap, staring at that paper that said, a warehouse at mile marker 47. I did not understand anything. The following days were a silent nightmare. Andrea hired a moving company. My things were packed in boxes without labels. 40 years of life reduced to cardboard and tape. I tried to talk to her. Andrea, honey, why are you doing this to me? She did not even turn around. She was reviewing an inventory with an appraiser. I am not doing anything to you, Mom. I am just receiving what Dad decided. If he left you a warehouse, it must be for a reason. Her voice was cold, calculated, as if I were a stranger. The 7th day arrived, the final moment. I was in the living room with a small suitcase. I did not know where to go. I had no close family. My friends all belonged to that world that was now closing its doors to me. Andrea came down the stairs in a cream-colored dress. She was going to a business dinner, she said. Business. My daughter, who had never worked a day in her life, was now talking about business. She looked me up and down as if I were an old piece of furniture. You are still here. Andrea, please. Give me a few more days. I just need... Days. She let out a dry laugh. Mom, you already had a whole life. Now it is my turn. But I have nowhere to go, honey. Then she exploded. She got close to me, her eyes burning with fury, and she screamed with a violence that froze my blood. Go live with the rats, you miserable old hag. That damn warehouse is all you are worth. I left that night. I took my suitcase, I called a cab, and I walked away without looking back. As the car moved down Main Street, I saw the city lights blur through my tears. I was not crying for the house. I was crying because my daughter had ripped my heart out with her own hands. The taxi driver asked me, Where to, ma'am? I gave him the address of the warehouse. He frowned. To mile marker 47. Ma'am, that is very far, and at this hour, I do not think there is anything out there. It is the only place I have, I whispered. He did not say anything else. We arrived past midnight. The warehouse was in the middle of nowhere. No lights, no neighbors. Just a gray old building with a rusted gate and broken windows. The driver helped me with the suitcase. He looked at me with pity. Are you sure, ma'am? I nodded. I paid him with the last bills I had in my wallet. I stood alone in front of that place. The wind moved the dry trees. In the distance, a dog barked. I pushed the gate. It creaked. Inside it smelled of dampness, of oblivion. I turned on my cell phone flashlight. The floor was covered in dust. There were old boxes, rusted tools, cobwebs in every corner. And then I saw something on the back wall, a small metal door almost hidden behind a fallen shelf. I approached slowly. My hands were shaking. I moved the shelf with difficulty. The door had an old padlock. I searched through my things and I remembered. In the envelope of the will there was a small key. The lawyer handed it to me without saying anything. I put the key in the padlock. It turned. Inside there was a safe embedded in the wall. My heart was beating so fast I could barely breathe. The safe had a digital combination and a note attached with yellowed tape. The handwriting was Robert's. It said, "Arlette, the date of our first kiss." My fingers trembled as I punched in the numbers. 0214, 1981. A click. The safe door opened, and what I saw inside changed everything. Sometimes we trust too much in those we should not. Have you also been disappointed by someone you loved? Tell me your story in the comments. I want to read it. Before I tell you what I found in that safe, I need you to understand something. I need you to know who I was before that night, before everything collapsed. Because there is an Arlette who no longer exists, and it hurts to remember her. I met Robert Morgan in 1981. I was 18 and working as a receptionist at a hotel downtown. He arrived one afternoon with a worn briefcase and a shy smile. He asked me if I knew any place that served good coffee. I recommended the Havana Cafe, a coffee shop 2 blocks away. He invited me to join him when I finished my shift. That afternoon we talked for 3 hours. Robert told me he had just arrived from Chicago, that he wanted to build something of his own, that he believed in honest work. I fell in love with the way he looked at the future, as if everything were possible. We got married 6 months later. It was a simple wedding. My mother made the cake. Robert's friends played guitar in my parents' backyard. That night, while we danced under the colored lights, Robert whispered in my ear, "I promise you will never lack anything, Arlette. I am going to build an empire for you." I laughed. I told him I did not need an empire. I only needed him. The first years were difficult. Robert worked from sunrise to sunset. He started with a small welding shop, making fences, gates, metal structures. He would come home with hands full of calluses and tired eyes. I waited for him with dinner ready, pot roast, fresh biscuits, sweet tea. We would sit at that small formica table and he would tell me his plans. "Someday we are going to have a big house, Arlette, with a garden, and Andrea is going to study in the best schools." Andrea was born in 1984. It was the happiest day of our lives. I remember Robert crying in the hospital waiting room. When the nurse handed him our daughter, he looked at her as if she were a miracle. "She looks just like you," he told me with a broken voice. And it was true. Andrea had my eyes, my dark hair, but she had Robert's determination. Years passed. The business grew. Robert got bigger contracts, industrial construction, government projects. Suddenly we had money. We bought the Hillcrest house when Andrea was 7. It was huge, 3 floors, a garden with a fountain, rooms with marble bathrooms. I walked through those hallways and I could not believe it. I still dreamed of our little apartment in Queens with that formica table, but Robert was happy. He would tell me, "See my love, I promised you. You will never lack anything." And I lacked nothing, except time with him. Because the more the business grew, the more absent Robert was. Trips to Seattle, meetings in Chicago, dinners with clients. I stayed alone with Andrea. I took her to piano lessons, tennis practice, her birthday parties in gardens decorated with helium balloons and dessert tables. Andrea grew up beautiful, intelligent, but also spoiled. If she wanted something, she got it. Robert did not know how to say no. "Dad, I want a new iPhone. Andrea, you have one from last year. But all my friends have the new one, and Robert would buy it for her." I tried to talk to him. "Robert, we are spoiling her." "Arlette, I worked my whole life so my daughter would not have to suffer like I suffered. Let me give her what I never had. How do you argue with that?" On Sundays, the 3 of us had breakfast together. It was the only time of the week we seemed like a real family. I made pancakes. Robert read the newspaper. Andrea checked her phone. I looked at that scene and tried to convince myself we were happy, but something had changed. I could not say exactly when. Maybe it was gradual, like when a plant dries up and you do not notice until there is no remedy. Robert started arriving later, sometimes smelling of whiskey, other times with a distance in his gaze. "Are you okay, my love?" "Yes, Arlette. Just tired." Andrea, for her part, spoke to me less and less. At 18, she went to study in Boston, a very expensive university. She called us once a month. She always asked for money. "Mom, I need $2,000 for books." "Andrea, we sent you $3,000 last semester. It is just that these are more expensive. Or do you want me to fail?" Robert always sent her double what she asked for. I started to feel invisible in my own house. Robert worked. Andrea was away. And I watered the plants in the garden. I prepared dinners that no one ate. I watched shows in the empty living room. Sometimes at night, I lay next to Robert and watched him sleep. I tried to remember the man who invited me for coffee, the one who promised I would never lack anything. And I asked myself, when did we stop talking? When did we stop looking each other in the eye? But I never said anything, because I thought that is how marriage was after so many years. That mature love was this: comfortable silence, shared routine. I did not know that silence can also be a slow goodbye. Those were my days before everything broke. Quiet days. Empty. But mine. I never imagined that life with all its flaws was a luxury I was about to lose. I never imagined my husband was preparing me for something, and that my daughter, my own daughter, was waiting for the perfect moment to forget my name. While I tell this, I wonder where you are listening from. Write the name of your city in the comments. The first time I suspected something was wrong was a Tuesday in March. I remember because it was my mother's birthday. She had passed away 10 years ago, but I still lit a candle for her every year. It was my way of keeping her close. That morning, I went down to the kitchen early. Robert was already awake, which was rare. Normally, he left the house before I opened my eyes. He was sitting at the breakfast table with a steaming cup of coffee in his hands. He was looking out the window at the garden, but his eyes were lost, as if he saw nothing. "Good morning, my love," I said, approaching to kiss him on the cheek. He jumped, as if I had scared him. "Oh, good morning, Arlette." His voice sounded distant, polite, as if I were a courtesy visit. I poured myself coffee. I sat in front of him. I tried to break that uncomfortable silence that lately filled our house. "Did you sleep well?" "Yes, more or less." "Should I make you something eggs fruit? I am not hungry." Silence again. I stirred my coffee without drinking it. I observed his hands, those hands that once held me with such tenderness. Now they were tense, knuckles white from gripping the cup. "Robert, is something wrong?" He looked up. For a second I saw something in his eyes. Fear, or maybe guilt. I am not sure. "No, everything is fine. Lately I see you, I do not know. Worried. It is work stuff, Arlette. Nothing more. Are you sure you know you can talk to me?" He put the cup on the table with more force than necessary. The coffee spilled a little. "I already told you everything is fine. Why do you insist?" His tone took me by surprise. Robert never spoke to me like that. Never. I stayed quiet. He stood up, took his jacket from the back of the chair and left without saying goodbye. I stayed there staring at that half-empty cup of coffee, staring at the brown stain on the white tablecloth, and for the first time in 40 years of marriage, I felt afraid. That night, Robert arrived past 10. I was in the living room reading a book I could not concentrate on. I heard the car in the driveway, the front door, his steps in the hallway. He entered the living room. His tie was loose, his eyes tired. "Did you eat already?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "Yes, I had dinner with some clients." "Oh, that is fine." He stood there as if he wanted to say something, but he did not. He just went up the stairs. I waited a few minutes, then I went up too. When I reached the bedroom, he was already in the shower. I lay down, turned off the light on my side, closed my eyes, and pretended to sleep. He came out of the bathroom 20 minutes later, lay on his side of the bed. He did not even say goodnight. Days passed like this, weeks, months. Robert arrived later and later. Sometimes he did not even come home to sleep. He said he had to stay at the construction site, that there were problems with suppliers, that inspectors were a headache. I wanted to believe him. I forced myself to believe him, but there were signs. Like that time I found a restaurant receipt in his pants pocket, an expensive place downtown. 2 people. A bill for $300. Robert, did you go to Le Bernardin last week? He did not even look up from the newspaper. Yes, with an investor. Oh, you did not tell me. It is not important, Arlette. Just business. But something in his voice did not sound right. Something forced, another sign. He started going to the gym. Robert, the man who for 20 years had said he had no time to exercise. Suddenly, 3 times a week, he left at 6 in the morning with a sports bag. I am taking care of myself, Arlette. The doctor said I have high cholesterol. Do you want us to go together? I could exercise too. No, it is a men's gym, just weights and stuff like that. You would get bored. He also changed the way he dressed. Before he used white shirts and gray pants, always the same. Suddenly he started buying more modern clothes. Navy blue shirts, fitted pants. A new watch I had never seen. You look good, my love, I told him one morning. He barely smiled. Thanks. And he left. I stayed in that huge empty house wondering what was happening, trying to put the puzzle together with the pieces I had. But I did not want to see the complete image, because seeing it meant accepting something that terrified me. I started checking his phone. Yes, I admit it. I became that woman I never thought I would be. That woman who waits for her husband to fall asleep to check his cell phone with trembling hands. But Robert was careful. He always had it password protected. And when he showered, he took it to the bathroom. One night while he slept, I saw his phone on the nightstand. The screen lit up. A new message. I approached slowly. My heart was beating so fast, I thought I was going to wake him. The message said, "Tomorrow at 6, same place." There was no name, just a number I did not recognize. I was going to open the message when Robert moved. I put the phone away quickly and went back to my side of the bed. I could not sleep all night. The next day, Robert left at 5:30 in the morning. He said he had an early meeting. I stayed awake, staring at the ceiling, feeling my chest tighten. I thought about calling someone. But who my friends? They would tell me I was exaggerating, that Robert was a hard-working man, that all marriages go through crises. I thought about calling Andrea, but Andrea never answered. And when she did, she was always in a hurry. I was alone with my suspicions, alone with that fear that grew every day. I decided to do something I had never done, something desperate. I waited for Robert to leave for the gym. Then I searched through his things, in his closet, in his drawers, in his desk in the study. I did not know what I was looking for. A letter, a photograph, a perfume that was not mine. What I found was worse. In the bottom drawer of his desk, under some old documents, there was a manila envelope. I opened it with shaking hands. Inside were papers, legal documents, contracts, and a name that repeated over and over, Andrea Morgan, my daughter. They were transfer documents, properties in Andrea's name, bank accounts, shares of Robert's company. Everything was being transferred to Andrea. I checked the dates, the last 6 months. Why was Robert putting everything in Andrea's name without telling me? I felt dizzy. I sat on the floor of the study with those papers scattered around me. I understood nothing. Was he sick? Is that why he exercised? Is that why he was so distant? Or was it something else? I put everything back, exactly as it was. I closed the drawer. That night when Robert arrived, I tried to act normal. How was your day, my love? Good. Tiring. Robert, is there something you want to tell me? He looked at me. For a second, I saw hesitation in his eyes. Like what I do not know. Anything. I feel like we do not talk like before. He sighed. He took off his shoes, sat in the living room armchair. Arlette, I am tired. Can we talk tomorrow? Sure. Rest. But we did not talk tomorrow, nor the day after, nor ever. Because a week later, Robert did not wake up. It was a Sunday. I woke up early to make breakfast. I turned to see him. He was pale, too still. Robert, my love. He did not answer. I touched his shoulder. He was cold. I started screaming. I called the ambulance. They arrived in 20 minutes. But it was too late. Massive heart attack, they said. He died in his sleep. He did not suffer. But I did, because in that moment I understood something horrible. Robert had been saying goodbye to me for months, only I did not want to see the signs. And now, standing in that abandoned warehouse with an open safe in front of me, I was going to discover why. I was going to discover that my husband knew exactly what he was doing, and that my daughter, my own daughter, also knew. Inside that safe, there was a world I did not know. Documents. Dozens of documents. Some new. Others yellowed by time. I took out the first one with trembling hands. It was a deed. Property in Austin. 3 acres. In the name of Arlette Morgan. Mine. I took out another. A condo in Seattle. Also in my name. Another one. Land in Florida. Arlette Morgan. And another. And another. And another. There were properties I did not even know existed. Places I had never visited. But that was not all. There was a blue plastic folder. Inside, sheets printed with the stock exchange logo. Stocks. Thousands of shares of companies I barely recognized, all in my name. And under everything, a white envelope, heavier than the others. I opened it. It was a letter, handwritten. Robert's handwriting. That slanted handwriting I had seen thousands of times on birthday cards and notes on the refrigerator. My heart was beating so fast I could barely breathe. I began to read. Arlette, my love. If you are reading this, it means I am no longer with you, and it means that Andrea did exactly what I feared she would do. Forgive me. Forgive me for not telling you anything while I was alive. Forgive me for letting you go through this pain. But I needed to be sure. 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with a severe cardiac arrhythmia. The doctor told me it could be a matter of months. Or years. There was no way to know. From that day I started preparing everything. Not for me. For you. Arlette, I know you. I know you have never been a businesswoman. I know you trust too much. I know Andrea learned to manipulate you since she was a child. And you always give her the benefit of the doubt. That is why I did what I did. I left Andrea the house in Hillcrest, the beach house, and $8 million. I left her the visible assets. What she expected. What everyone expected. But do you know what else I left her debt? The Hillcrest house has a mortgage of $3 million that is due in 6 months. The beach house is seized for back taxes, and those $8 million are in a trust account that releases only $100,000 a year for the next 80 years. Andrea does not know it yet. The lawyer has orders to inform her 30 days after my death. 30 days in which she is going to show you who she really is. Because I already know Arlette. I already know. Our daughter turned into someone I do not recognize. Someone who only sees numbers, who only thinks of herself. A year ago she came to ask me for money. She said she wanted to invest in a business. I gave her $50,000. 2 weeks later I found out she spent it on a trip to Europe with her friends. I confronted her. Do you know what she told me, Dad? You have plenty. Do not be cheap. Cheap. After having paid for the most expensive university in the United States, after having bought her 3 cars, after giving her everything she asked for during 30 years. I tried to talk to you, but every time I mentioned Andrea, you defended her. She is young, Robert. She will mature. She is looking for her path. Do not be so hard on her. And I kept quiet because I did not want to break your heart. But now, my love, you need to see the truth. To you I left what really matters. What I built with my own hands for 40 years. That warehouse where you are now is not just an old depot. It is the place where everything started. My first workshop. The place where I welded my first gate. Where I spent entire nights working to give you a better life. And inside, in this safe, is your true heritage. 20 properties in different states, all generating rent, all paid off. Stocks worth $12 million. And a notarized power of attorney that names you CEO of the 3 companies I founded. Companies Andrea does not even know exist. There is also an envelope with cash, $100,000. So you do not lack anything the first few months. Arlette, I know this is going to be difficult. I know you are going to want to give everything to Andrea. You are going to want to forgive her, but I ask you something. Wait and observe. If Andrea, after receiving her inheritance, looks for you, takes care of you, asks how you are, then maybe I was wrong. Maybe there is still something of the girl she was. But if she does not do it, if she despises you, if she abandons you, if she treats you like something disposable, then you will know I did the right thing. I spent 40 years working, not for money, for you, to give you security, to make sure that whatever happened you would be okay. This warehouse is yours. The properties are yours. The money is yours. But more importantly, your dignity is yours. Do not let anyone, not even our daughter, take it from you. I loved you from the day I saw you in that hotel, and I will keep loving you from wherever I am. Take care of this legacy. Not for you, for women like you. The ones who gave everything. The ones who stayed in silence. The ones who deserve something more than crumbs. With all my love, Robert. P.S. In the red folder there are contacts of trusted lawyers and accountants. They will help you with everything. You are not alone. I finished reading and I could not take it anymore. I collapsed right there, on the cold floor of that warehouse with the letter pressed against my chest. I cried like I had not cried at the funeral. I cried for Robert, for everything he did not tell me, for everything he endured in silence. I cried for me. For the months I spent feeling invisible, for the nights I slept next to a man who was saying goodbye. And I cried for Andrea, for the girl she was, for the woman she turned into, because Robert was right. Andrea showed me who she was in those 7 days. She kicked me out of my own house. She screamed at me. She humiliated me. And she did not even ask if I had anywhere to go. I stayed lying there. I do not know how long. Maybe an hour. Maybe more. Until I heard a noise outside. A car. Tires on gravel. I got up quickly. Looked through one of the broken windows. It was a black car. Elegant. A BMW. My heart skipped a beat. It was Andrea. She got out of the car with sunglasses and a beige coat. She walked towards the warehouse with determined steps. How did she know I was here? I quickly put all the documents in the safe, closed the metal door, moved the shelf back to its place. Just in time. Andrea pushed the gate, entered with a grimace of disgust. My God, Mom. Did you really come to live here? Her voice, that tone, as if I were a homeless person. Andrea, what are you doing here? I came to bring you this. She extended a plastic bag. Inside there was clothes. My clothes. But not all of it. Just some old blouses. A pair of worn shoes. I found this in your closet. I thought you would need it. She did not say I miss you. She did not say how are you. She did not say forgive me. She just handed me a bag of clothes like someone giving charity. Thanks, honey, I mumbled. She looked around the warehouse with contempt. Did Dad really leave you this place? How cruel. Something inside me twisted, but I stayed quiet. Well, I have to go. I have an appointment with the architect. I am going to remodel the Hillcrest house, change everything. That old style you guys had does not go with anything anymore. Old style. She was referring to the curtains I had chosen myself, to the furniture Robert and I had bought together. Andrea, do not you think it is too soon to remodel? She took off her glasses, looked at me coldly. Mom, Dad is gone. Life goes on. I have plans. I am not going to stay stuck in the past like you. Every word was a stab. I understand, I said with a trembling voice. Oh, and another thing, I need you to sign some papers. What papers? The lawyer says there are some minor properties that were in Dad's name and yours, things without value. But I need you to renounce your share so I can sell them. My heart stopped. Sell them? Yes, Mom. Do not be complicated. They are plots of land in the middle of nowhere. They are useless. But with the sale I can finish paying for the remodel. She was talking about my heritage, about the properties Robert had left me. How did she know unless she had also been looking through Robert's papers, searching, waiting? I swallowed hard. Andrea, I need to think about it. She narrowed her eyes. Think about it, Mom. What is there to think about? It is for your own good. Or do you plan to manage properties all by yourself? I do not know, honey. Just, Give me a few days." Andrea let out a dry laugh. "Incredible. Dad was right. You are stubborn." "Did Dad tell you that?" She fell silent. She realized she had said too much. "Forget it. Think about it. But do not take too long. I have plans." She turned around and left the warehouse without saying goodbye. I stayed there shaking. Robert was right. Andrea did not come to see how I was. She came looking for more. And the worst part, she knew. She knew there were more properties. She knew Robert had left me something. And she wanted to take it from me. That night alone in that cold warehouse with Robert's letter in my hands, I understood something that broke my soul. My daughter did not see me as her mother. She saw me as an obstacle. I still wonder if I did the right thing. And you, what would you have done in my place? The following days were the strangest of my life. By day, I cleaned the warehouse. I swept dust accumulated for years, repaired broken windows with cardboard and tape. I turned that forgotten place into something resembling a home. By night, I read the documents Robert had left me. Every paper was a revelation. Every deed, every contract, every bank statement showed me a Robert I did not know. A meticulous man, calculator, someone who had been building an invisible empire while I watered the garden plants. There was a property in Texas generating $3,000 a month in rent, an apartment building in Seattle, $5,000 monthly, a commercial space in downtown Chicago, $8,000. I added the total income of all the properties, almost $40,000 a month. $40,000 I did not even know existed. How could Robert hide all this from me for years? But then I remembered. He did not hide it. I simply never asked, because I assumed the money was his, that the decisions were his, that my role was to wait, nod, accompany. I became a shadow in my own marriage. And Robert protected me in his own way. I found a black notebook among the documents, a sort of diary. The last pages had dates from last year. I began to read. March 15th. Andrea came today to ask for money again. She says she needs $50,000 for a design course in Milan. I told her no. She got angry. She called me selfish. Arlette defended her. As always. She does not know Andrea already owes $20,000 to a friend. I know because the friend called me. Andrea has not even answered her. April 22nd. I had another arrhythmia. This time at the office. The doctor says I must reduce stress. But how Andrea does not stop. Arlette does not see. And I am tired. So tired. June 10th. Today I started transferring properties to Arlette's name. The notary asked me why I do not put them in Andrea's name too. I told him, because Andrea does not know what it is to build something. She only knows how to destroy. August 3rd. Andrea came to eat, pretended to be interested in my health. Then she brought up the topic. She wants me to give her power of attorney over my accounts. She says it is to help me if something happens to me. I told her no. She left furious. Arlette asked me why I'm so hard on her. She does not know Andrea has been asking my lawyers how much I am worth for months. She thinks I have not noticed. October 12th. Arlette asked me if I am sick. I almost told her the truth, but I cannot. If I tell her I have little time left, she will want to take care of me. And Andrea is going to use it. She is going to manipulate her. She is going to take everything from her. I prefer Arlette to suffer my death at once, but protected. December 30th. New Year soon. I do not think I will see many more. Today I finished preparing everything. The warehouse has the safe. The letter is written. The lawyers have instructions. Arlette is going to be okay. That is the only thing that matters. I hope she forgives me someday. I closed the notebook. Tears blurred my vision. Robert knew me. He knew me too well. He knew I would have given everything for Andrea, that I would have signed any paper, that I would have given up everything to keep the peace. That is why he did not tell me anything. That is why he let me discover it alone. I spent 3 days without leaving the warehouse, without talking to anyone. I ate bread from the corner store, drank bottled water, slept on an old mattress I found in the depot. But I was not sad. I was waking up, as if I had spent 40 years asleep, and finally opened my eyes. On the fourth day, I called the number Robert had left in the red folder. A man with a deep voice answered. Davis Law Firm. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. This is Arlette Morgan speaking. My husband, Robert Morgan, worked with you. There was a pause. Mrs. Morgan, I was precisely expecting your call. Did you find the safe? Yes. And the letter? That too. Good. We need to meet as soon as possible. There are documents you must sign, and there is something else you should know. Something else I prefer to tell you in person. Can you come tomorrow at 10? Yes, I will be there. I hung up with my heart racing. What else could there be? The next morning I took an Uber to the office. It was in Hillcrest, just 4 blocks from the house where I lived for 30 years, the house that was now Andrea's. The lawyer was a man of about 50, glasses, gray suit, serious expression. Mrs. Morgan, I am very sorry for your loss. Mr. Robert was an exceptional man. Thank you. I suppose you already read the letter. Yes, then you know you are the true heir of your husband's estate. Yes, but I do not understand. Why does the official will say otherwise? The lawyer smiled slightly. Because Mr. Robert made 2 wills, one public which was read at the notary, and one private which is registered here. He took out a blue folder, opened it in front of me. Here are all the deeds, 20 properties, 12 million in stocks, everything in your name, everything legal, everything protected. And Andrea, your daughter received exactly what the public will said, but in 30 days, the bank will notify her of the real conditions of her inheritance. The debts. Exactly. The Hillcrest house has a pending mortgage of $3 million. The beach house is seized for taxes, and the $8 million are tied up. What is going to happen when she finds out? The lawyer looked at me intently. She is going to come looking for you, Mrs. Morgan, and she is going to ask you for help. Do I have to help her? Legally, no. Morally, that is your decision. I felt a knot in my stomach. Can I ask you something, counselor? Of course. Do you think Robert was cruel to Andrea? He leaned back in his chair, clasped his hands. Mrs. Morgan, I worked with Mr. Robert for 15 years. I saw him build every property. I saw how he stayed up late reviewing contracts, how he skipped meals to close deals. He paused. And I also saw how your daughter arrived to ask him for money every month, how she never asked him how he was, how she only talked about what she wanted to buy. I did not know. I know. Mr. Robert asked me never to tell you anything. He said you had a heart too noble, that you did not deserve to carry that truth. He stood up, walked to the window. Do you know what he told me the last time I saw him? It was 3 weeks before he died. I shook my head. He told me, Counselor, if Andrea looks for me after my death, it is going to be only for money. But if she looks for Arlette, then I will know I was wrong. Then I will know there is still hope. I felt a chill. Tell me the truth, Counselor. Has Andrea come to see you after the funeral? I lowered my gaze. Yes, once. And how was that visit? I remembered the bag of old clothes, the request to sign papers, the contemptuous tone. It was painful. The lawyer nodded sadly. Then Mr. Robert was right. I left the office with a folder full of documents and a soul full of questions. I walked through Hillcrest aimlessly. I passed in front of coffee shops where I used to have breakfast with my friends, in front of boutiques where I bought clothes I no longer had. Everything seemed distant to me, as if it belonged to another life. I arrived in front of the house. My house, the Hillcrest one. There was a remodeling truck outside. Workers went in and out carrying furniture. I saw my favorite sofa lying on the sidewalk, the armchair where Robert read the newspaper, the dining table where we celebrated 30 Christmases, everything in the trash. Andrea was in the entrance giving orders to the foreman. She saw me. For a second, our eyes met. I waited. I waited for her to cross the street, to ask me how I was, to tell me she missed me. But she just looked at me and turned around. She entered the house and closed the door. There, standing on that sidewalk, watching my memories in the trash and my daughter turning her back on me, I understood something. Robert was not cruel to Andrea. He was realistic. And now I had to decide what to do with that reality. Because in 22 days, when the bank notified her of the debts, Andrea was going to return. And this time, she would not come with a bag of clothes. She would come with demands. The question was, would I be ready to face her? I went back to the warehouse with my heart broken in pieces. I sat on the cold floor with my back against the concrete wall and let the tears come out. I cried for hours. I cried until I had no tears left. I cried for Robert, for all the secrets he carried alone, for all the nights he pretended everything was fine while his heart literally broke. I cried for Andrea, for the girl she was, for the woman she turned into. And I cried for me, for the 40 years I spent being complacent, being invisible, being the perfect wife who never asked, never questioned, never complained. When I could cry no more, I got up. I opened the safe again, took out all the documents and spread them on an old table I had cleaned. I needed to understand. I needed to see clearly. There were 20 properties. I counted them one by one. 3 houses in Texas, 2 apartment buildings in Seattle, a ranch in Montana, commercial spaces in Chicago, New York and Los Angeles, lands in Florida, Colorado and Nevada. Each one had its deed, its rental contract, its statement. Robert had built this for 30 years, property by property, brick by brick, and me, I knew nothing. I felt ashamed, small. What kind of wife does not know what her husband is building? But then I remembered something the lawyer had said. Mr. Roberts said you had a heart too noble. Noble or naive? Maybe both. I passed the following days studying every document. I called the accountants whose numbers Robert had left. I asked them questions. I took notes. I learned how rents worked, taxes, deeds, contracts. It was like learning a new language. But little by little I began to understand, and with every day that passed, I felt something strange growing inside me. It was not sadness. It was strength. A week after my visit to the lawyer, I received a call. Unknown number. Hello, Mom. It was Andrea, but her voice sounded different, less cold, almost nervous. Hello, honey. Mom, I need to talk to you. Can you come to the house? Andrea, it is not my house anymore. I know, but it is important. Please. There was something in her tone, something desperate. What happened? It is about Dad's inheritance. There is a problem. There it was. The bank had already notified her. What kind of problem, Mom? Please, I do not want to talk on the phone. Can you come? I hesitated. Part of me wanted to hang up. Another part was still the mother who always ran when her daughter called her. It is okay. I will be there in an hour. When I arrived at the Hillcrest house, the remodeling was halfway done. There was rubble in the garden, demolished walls. The place looked like a war zone. Andrea was waiting for me in the living room, or what was left of it. She was pale, dark circles, no makeup. Her hair, always perfect, was now tied in a messy ponytail. Mom, thanks for coming. She looked genuinely scared. Tell me what happened. She sat on a stool. The only furniture left. The bank called me 3 days ago, and they told me the house has a mortgage, $3 million, and I have to start paying in 30 days. I understand. You understand. That is all you are going to say. Her voice rose in pitch. Mom, it is $3 million. I do not have that money. I thought Dad left you $8 million. Yes, but it is in a weird account. I can only take out $100,000 a year. The rest is blocked for 80 years. She put her hands to her face. I do not understand. Why would Dad do this? Why would he leave me a house with debts? Why would he give me money I cannot use? I stayed quiet, observing her. Mom, say something. What do you want me to say? Andrea, I do not know. Something, anything. This is a nightmare. And the beach house. She let out a bitter laugh. Seized. For back taxes. I cannot even sell it. It is a damn disaster. She got up, started walking in circles. I spent almost $1 million on this remodel. I thought I had plenty of money. And now the bank is demanding payments. The architects are suing me. And I have nothing. Tears ran down her cheeks. Mom, I need your help. There it was, what Robert had predicted. What kind of help? The lawyer says Dad had other properties, minor properties, in your name. And I need you to sell them or transfer them to me. I need that money, Mom. It is an emergency. She looked at me with pleading eyes. Please, I am your daughter. I felt a deep pain in my chest because that phrase, I am your daughter, that was the same phrase she should have remembered when she kicked me out of this house. Andrea, those properties are not minor. She frowned. What? There are 20 properties. They generate rent. They are my livelihood. 20. But how? The lawyer said they were worthless lands. The lawyer lied. Or you understood what you wanted to understand. Andrea stayed quiet, processing. So you have money? I have an estate. Yes. Her eyes lit up. Mom, that is perfect. Then you can help me. You can pay the house mortgage, or lend me money until I... No. The word came out firm. Clear. Andrea blinked. What? I'm not going to help you, Andrea. Why not? Because 2 weeks ago when you kicked me out of this house, you did not ask yourself if I had money. You did not ask yourself where I was going to go. You did not care if I was going to sleep on the street. Mom, that is different. No, it is not different. You screamed at me. You humiliated me. You called me a miserable old hag. You told me to go live with the rats. Andrea lowered her gaze. She was angry. I did not mean it. Oh, you didn't. Because it felt very serious. Mom, please, you came to see me once after the funeral. Just once. And it was not to ask me how I was. It was to ask me to sign papers. So I would renounce the little I had left. I did not know those properties were important. But you did not care. You wanted me to sign without asking, without reading. Because you assumed I am stupid. My voice started to break. 40 years, Andrea. 40 years I gave you everything. I paid for the best education, the best clothes, the best trips. You never lacked anything. I know, Mom, and I thank you. You thank me, kicking me out of my house, throwing my furniture in the trash, ignoring me when you saw me on the street. Andrea started crying. Mom, I made mistakes. I know, but I am still your daughter. I am your only daughter. I know, and precisely for that reason it hurts so much. I got up. I took my purse. Andrea, your father left you a lesson, not an inheritance. A lesson. What lesson? That easy money does not exist, that everything worth it is built with effort, with sacrifice, with humility. I walked towards the door. Wait, Mom, where are you going? To my house. Your house. The warehouse. Yes, the warehouse your father left me. The place where everything started. The place you and I despised for years without knowing what it really meant. Mom, you cannot leave me like this. I stopped. I turned around. Andrea, 2 weeks ago you left me with nothing. And I survived. Now it is your turn. But I do not know how to do that. Learn, like I learned, like your father learned. I opened the door. Mom, please, I need you. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath. I needed you too, honey. And you were not there. I left that house. Andrea screamed my name from the entrance, but I did not turn around. I kept walking because for the first time in my life, I was putting my needs first. And although my soul hurt, I knew it was the right thing. Robert had given me a gift, not just money, not just properties. He had given me the possibility to discover who I was without him and without Andrea. That night back at the warehouse, I opened a bottle of wine I had bought at the store. I poured myself a glass, and I toasted to Robert, to his wisdom, to his silent love, to me, to my awakening, to my recovered dignity, and yes, even to Andrea, because maybe, just maybe, this fall would teach her to get up, just as I was learning. The phone rang that night, 3 times. It was Andrea. I did not answer. The next day I received messages. Mom, please, let's talk. Mom, I made mistakes. Forgive me. Mom, I need you. I read them all, but I did not answer, because words are easy when something is needed. Acts are what show the truth, and Andrea's acts had already shown me everything I needed to know. 2 days later, the lawyer called me. Mrs. Morgan, your daughter came to the office. She is desperate. She wants to know if you are going to help her. And what did you tell her that the decision is exclusively yours? Good. Can I ask you something personal, ma'am? Go ahead. What are you going to do? I looked around the warehouse, my home now. I am going to do what Robert would have wanted. I am going to take care of his legacy. I am going to honor his memory. And I am going to live with dignity. And Andrea. Andrea has everything she needs to learn. She has youth, she has health, she has $100,000 a year guaranteed. I paused. What she does not have is someone to rescue her. And maybe that is exactly what she needs. The lawyer sighed. Mr. Robert would be proud of you. I hung up, and for the first time in weeks, I smiled, because I understood something fundamental. A mother's love does not mean sacrificing yourself until you disappear. It means teaching, guiding, and sometimes letting them fall so they learn to fly, or at least to get up. 2 weeks passed. 2 weeks in which I did not answer any calls from Andrea. 2 weeks in which I focused on rebuilding my life from scratch. The warehouse no longer looked like an abandoned depot. I had hired a handyman from the nearby town to fix the windows. I bought simple curtains, a gas stove, a wooden table. In the mornings I had coffee with sweet bread while reviewing the property statements. In the afternoons I called the tenants to make sure everything was in order. I was learning, slowly, with mistakes, but learning. One afternoon while I was watering the plants I had bought to brighten up the place, I heard a car outside. A car I knew very well, Andrea's BMW. My heart raced. She was not alone. She got out of the car with an older woman, elegant, white hair perfectly styled, tailored suit. It was Eleanor, Robert's mother, my mother-in-law. I had not seen her since the funeral. Andrea walked toward the warehouse with determined steps. Eleanor followed her, slower, leaning on a cane. Mom, we need to talk. Hello, Andrea. Mrs. Eleanor. Eleanor looked at me with an expression I could not decipher. Disappointment. Sadness. Arlette, can we come in? Of course. I let them in. Andrea looked around with barely disguised contempt. Eleanor, on the other hand, observed everything with curiosity. I see you fixed up the place, Eleanor said. I am trying to turn it into a home. Robert always loved this place. Everything started here, you know. Yes, I know. Eleanor sat on the only chair I had. Andrea remained standing, arms crossed. Mom, I told Grandma everything, about the inheritance, about the debts, about everything. I looked at Eleanor. She nodded slowly. Arlette. Andrea came to see me 3 days ago. She was desperate, crying. She told me she needs help. I understand. She also told me that you have properties, money, and that you do not want to help her. I felt a knot in my stomach. Mrs. Eleanor did. Andrea tell you what happened after the funeral? Eleanor stared at me. She told me her version. Her version. Andrea intervened nervously. Mom, I admitted I was wrong, that I treated you badly. But it was in a moment of pain. I had just lost my father. I also lost my husband, Andrea. And you kicked me out of my house 7 days later. It was a mistake. I know, but you cannot punish me forever. Eleanor raised her hand. Arlette, let me ask you something. Is it true that you have enough money to help Andrea? Yes. And you are not going to do it, no. Why? I took a deep breath. Because Robert did not want me to. Andrea let out a bitter laugh. Dad told you that. In a way, yes. That is ridiculous. Dad loved me. He would never have wanted to see me like this. Your father loved you so much that he left you the most important lesson of your life, and I am not going to ruin it by rescuing you. Eleanor stood up slowly, walked toward me. She took my hands. Arlette, I understand you are hurt. I really understand. But Andrea is your daughter. She is all you have left of Robert. I know. Then how can you let her suffer? I felt tears accumulating, because letting her suffer now is the only way she stops suffering later. Eleanor frowned. I do not understand. I looked at Andrea. Your son built an empire with his hands. He worked until his heart literally gave up. And for what? So Andrea never had to make an effort. That is what parents do. Give their children a better life. Yes, but we gave her too much. We never taught her the value of effort, of sacrifice, of building something for herself. Andrea exploded. You are talking about me as if I were not here. I'm talking about you, so you listen, so you understand. I walked closer to her. Andrea, you are 38 years old and you have never worked a single day in your life. That is not true. I went to college, studying art history. And when did you use that degree? Never, because Dad gave you everything you asked for. It is not my fault Dad was generous. No, it is not your fault. It is ours, Robert's and mine, for not teaching you that life gives nothing away. Eleanor intervened. Arlette, I understand your point, but Andrea is in a desperate situation. She has debts, creditors chasing her. If she loses the house, then she will learn what to end up on the street to get up, like I did. Andrea let out a scream of frustration. You did not end up on the street. You have 20 properties and millions of dollars. It is not the same. You are right. It is not the same. Because I did not know I had that when I arrived here. I spent 3 days believing I was left with nothing. 3 days eating stale bread and sleeping on an old mattress. I pointed around. This place was full of rats, of dampness, of oblivion, and I cleaned it with my own hands because I had no other option. But you did have options. Could you have called the lawyer from day one? Yes, I could, but I did not. Because I needed to feel the pain. I needed to hit rock bottom. I needed to understand who I was without your father, without you, without anything. Tears ran down my face. And that is what you need, Andrea. You need to hit rock bottom, because only there will you discover who you really are. Andrea let herself fall to the floor. She was sobbing. I cannot believe you are doing this to me. You are my mother. Mothers are supposed to protect their children. And I am doing it, just not in the way you expected. Eleanor shook her head. Arlette, you disappoint me. I thought you were different. Those words hit me like a slap. Different from what Mrs. Eleanor, from selfish mothers, from those who only think of themselves selfish. I spent 40 years putting everyone first. Robert, Andrea, you. I erased myself. I became invisible. And when I finally recover my dignity, am I selfish? You have plenty of money. You can help your daughter without ruining yourself. And you do not do it because helping her now would be destroying her. That is an excuse. No, it is the truth Robert discovered before dying. I took Robert's diary from the table drawer. I had been keeping it there, reading it every night. Mrs. Eleanor, do you want to know what your son wrote about Andrea? I handed her the notebook open to a specific page. Eleanor took it. She read in silence. Her expression changed, from anger to sadness, from sadness to understanding. Robert wrote this. Yes, he knew. He knew that Andrea... She did not finish the sentence. Andrea got up quickly. What does it say there? What did Dad write about me? Eleanor closed the notebook slowly. Things he should have told you while alive, but he did not because he loved you too much. Grandma, please. Eleanor approached Andrea. She held her face with both hands. My granddaughter. Your father did not leave you an inheritance. He left you an exam. And you are failing. Andrea pulled away sharply. You too. Are you going to abandon me too? I am not abandoning you. I am telling you the truth, something no one dared to do before. Perfect. Then everyone agrees. Let me sink. After all, what does it matter? She walked toward the door. Andrea, wait, I said. She stopped. She did not turn around. What I do not want you to sink. I want you to learn to swim. It is the same thing. No, it is not. Sinking is giving up. Swimming is fighting. Silence. Andrea, look at me. She turned slowly. Her eyes were red, swollen. When you were a child, do you remember your rabbit? She blinked, confused by the change of subject. Snowball. Yes, Snowball. You loved him with all your heart. You took care of him. You fed him. You cleaned his cage. And what does that have to do with anything? No one forced you to do it. You did it because you loved that animal, because you cared. Andrea lowered her gaze. When Snowball died, you cried for days. Your father wanted to buy you another rabbit immediately, but you said no, that no rabbit could replace Snowball. Mom, I do not understand where you are going with this. That little girl, the one who loved a rabbit so much she did not want to replace him, the one who cleaned his cage without complaining, the one who cried for something she loved. That girl is still there, Andrea. Tears returned to her eyes. No, that girl died a long time ago. No, she is asleep, and the pain you are feeling now is going to wake her up. Andrea shook her head. I cannot do this alone, Mom. Yes, you can, because you are my daughter, and because you have Robert's blood running through your veins, and Robert never gave up. Dad never had to face something like this. Your father started with nothing, with a borrowed workshop and old tools, and he built an empire. I walked toward her. You have $100,000 a year guaranteed. You have health, you have youth, you have more than Robert had when he started. But I do not know how to do it. No one knows how to do it until they do it. Andrea stood there trembling. If I help you now, I continued, in 5 years you will be in the same situation, because you will have learned nothing. And if I cannot, and if I fail, then you fail, and you get up, and you try again. Eleanor approached us. Andrea, your mother is right. And I was part of the problem. We spoiled too much. I protected too much. She looked at Andrea with tears in her eyes. But I can no longer protect you from life. None of us can. Only you can save yourself, Andrea sobbed. I do not know if I can. You can, Eleanor and I said at the same time. Andrea looked at both of us. Then, without saying anything else, she left the warehouse. I saw her get in her car. I saw her leave down that dirt road. Eleanor and I stayed there standing, in silence. Did we do the right thing? She asked me. I do not know, Mrs. Eleanor, but I know it was the honest thing. She nodded sadly. Robert always said true love sometimes hurts. Yes, it hurts a lot. Eleanor approached and hugged me. Forgive me, Arlette, for judging you, for not understanding. You have nothing to forgive. Yes, I do. I also spoiled her, and now I see the consequences. She pulled away, looked me in the eyes. My son left you a gift, but he also left you a burden, the burden of being strong when Andrea cannot be. It is a heavy burden, I know, but he knew you could carry it. Eleanor left shortly after. I stayed alone in the warehouse. That night I could not sleep. I wondered if Andrea would be okay, if she would understand, if she would thank me someday, or if she would hate me forever. But one thing I knew with certainty. I had done what Robert had asked me, not with words, but with his silence, with his plan, with his love. And now I only had to wait. Wait for life to teach Andrea what we could never teach her. Wait for karma to do its work. Because consequences, good or bad, always arrive. And this time, they would arrive for all of us. 6 weeks passed. 6 weeks in which my life changed completely. I had enrolled in a real estate administration course in the city. 3 times a week, I took the bus at 6 in the morning and returned at dusk. I learned about contracts, about tax laws, about how to negotiate with tenants, how to detect investment opportunities. I was the oldest student in the group. The others were 20, 25 years old. At first, they looked at me with curiosity, then with respect, because I did all the homework. I took meticulous notes. I asked questions. One afternoon after class, the professor stopped me. Mrs. Morgan, may I ask you something? Of course, Professor. Why are you taking this course? You clearly have experience. I laughed. No, Professor. I have no experience. Until 2 months ago, I knew nothing about this. He frowned. But the questions you ask, the cases you analyze, you speak like someone who has been in this for years. It is because I finally paid attention. For 40 years, I let others make decisions for me. Now, I am making up for lost time. He nodded slowly. Then you are doing something more than learning about properties. What do you mean? You are learning about yourself. Those words stayed with me all the way back. He was right. I was not just learning to manage properties, I was discovering who I was when no one defined me, when no one expected anything from me. And I was liking that person. In those 6 weeks, I heard nothing from Andrea. Nothing. Not a call. Not a message. Not even through Eleanor. Part of me worried. Was she okay? Had she sold something? Had she found a job? But another part of me knew I had to let go. Let go of control. Let go of guilt. Let go of the need to rescue her. One Tuesday morning, while I was having breakfast in the warehouse, I heard a car. It was not Andrea's BMW. It was an old taxi, yellow and white. From the back seat, a woman got out, thin, worn jeans, gray sweatshirt, hair tied in a messy ponytail. It took me a second to recognize her. It was Andrea. But not the Andrea I knew, not the Andrea of designer clothes and perfect makeup. This Andrea had dark circles, wrinkles I had not noticed before, rough hands, no rings, no bracelets. She walked toward the warehouse slowly, as if every step cost her. I went out to meet her. Andrea. "Hello, Mom." Her voice sounded tired, but not defeated. There was something different about her. "Do you want to come in if you do not mind?" We went in. I offered her coffee. She accepted. We sat at the small wooden table that was now my dining room. Andrea looked around, saw the new curtains, the administration books piled in a corner, the plants in the windows. "It looks cozy." "Thank you." Uncomfortable silence. "How have you been?" I finally asked. "Surviving." "Did you sell the BMW?" She nodded. "And the clothes, and the jewelry, everything I could, and the Hillcrest house." "The bank foreclosed. I lost it 3 weeks ago." Her voice cracked a little, but she remained firm. "I am sorry, honey." "No, do not be sorry. You were right. I did not build that house. Dad did. And I just ruined it." She took a sip of coffee. "The remodeling cost more than I thought. The architects sued me. The suppliers too. And the bank. The bank had no mercy. Where are you living now?" "In a small apartment. In Queens. 400 square feet. I share with 2 roommates." I was surprised. "Roommates?" "Yes. One studies medicine. The other works in a call center. They are different from the people I used to hang out with. Different how they work. They make an effort. They do not have rich daddies paying for everything." Andrea lowered her gaze. "They make me feel ashamed, Mom, because they have hard lives and yet they are happy. And I had everything and appreciated nothing." I felt a lump in my throat. "Are you working?" She nodded. "In a coffee shop. Starbucks. Opening shift. From 5 in the morning to 1 in the afternoon." "Andrea, I know what you are thinking. Andrea Morgan, the rich girl, serving coffees. It is humiliating." I was not going to say that. But it is the truth. The first few days I cried in the bathroom every hour because my feet hurt, because customers were rude, because I had never worked like that in my life. She wiped a tear, but then I started to understand something. What? That every coffee I served I earned, every tip, no matter how small, was mine, not Dad's, not anyone else's, mine. Her voice trembled with emotion, and that feeling, Mom, that feeling of earning my own money, I had never felt it. I stood up, walked around the table, hugged her. She collapsed in my arms. She cried like she had not cried since she was a child. "Forgive me, Mom. Forgive me for everything, for kicking you out of the house, for screaming at you, for being so selfish. Shh, it is over. No, it is not over. Because I cannot forget what I did to you. I cannot forget how I treated you." She pulled away, looked me in the eyes. I look in the mirror and I see someone I do not like. I see the person I was, and it disgusts me. "Andrea, no, Mom. Let me say it. I need to say it." She took a deep breath. "Dad was right. I only thought of myself. I only wanted more and more and more. And when I finally had everything, I realized I had nothing. Now you are building something real. Building, Mom. I make $15 an hour. It is barely enough for rent and food, but you are earning it." "Yes. But sometimes I think, what was it all for? The expensive university, The trips, everything Dad gave me, it served to get to this moment, to understand what really matters. Andrea shook her head. I do not deserve your forgiveness. It is not about deserving. It is about learning. And if I do not learn enough, and if I remain the same selfish person, you are not, because the selfish person would not have sold her car, would not have accepted a humble job, would not have come here to ask for forgiveness. I came because I had nowhere else to go. You came because you are finally ready to be honest. We stayed in silence for a moment. Mom, can I ask you something? Whatever you want. Will you ever be able to forgive me? I stared at her. Andrea, I already forgave you. I forgave you the day I left your house, because I understood you did not know what you were doing. No one taught you. Dad tried to teach me. Yes, in his own way. With this plan, with this lesson, a lesson I hated, that I cursed 1,000 times. I know, but one I needed. I nodded. Andrea looked out the window. Do you know what is the weirdest thing? At first, when I lost everything, I thought I was going to die. I thought I could not survive without the money, without the house, without the expensive clothes. And now I realize all those things were killing me slowly. They were turning me into someone hollow, someone without purpose. She turned to me. The other day, a customer at Starbucks screamed at me because her coffee had too much foam. She humiliated me in front of everyone. She called me incompetent. And what did you do? I made her another coffee. I smiled. I apologized. That must have been difficult. Yes. But then I thought, 2 months ago I was that customer. I was the one who treated people badly, and I felt horrible. Andrea put her hands to her face. Mom, I was cruel to you, just like that woman was cruel to me. And now I understand how it feels to be on the other side. Karma always returns honey, yes. And it hurts. We finished the coffee in silence. Then Andrea stood up. I have to go. I have a shift in 2 hours and the bus takes time. You do not have a car, no. And it is okay. The bus gives me time to think, to read, to be normal. We walked to the door. Mom, can I come visit you again? Always. This door will always be open for you. Even if I have no money. Even if I cannot pay you back anything. I do not need you to pay me back anything. I just need you to be happy. Truly happy. Andrea hugged me tight. I love you, Mom, and I am so sorry for making you suffer. I love you too, and I am proud of you. Proud of what I lost everything. I am proud because you finally found something worth more than everything you lost. What? Your dignity. Andrea left in that yellow taxi. I stayed at the warehouse door watching her go, and for the first time in months, I felt peace. Because Andrea was finally on the right path, the path Robert had traced for her. The path of effort, of sacrifice, of growth. That night, I opened Robert's diary one more time. I looked for the last page, the last entry he had written before dying. It said, Arlette, if you are reading this, it means my plan worked, or at least I hope it worked. I do not know if Andrea will understand. I do not know if she will learn. But I trust you. I trust you will be strong enough not to rescue her. I trust you will be wise enough to guide her without carrying her. And I trust that in the end, Andrea will discover that the true gift was not the money. It was the pain that forced her to grow. I love you, my love. Take care of her. But take care of yourself first. Robert. I closed the diary, looked around my little home. This warehouse Robert left me. This place that at first seemed like a punishment. Now I understood. It was not a punishment. It was a beginning. The beginning of a new Arlette. One who made decisions. One who was not afraid to be alone. One who understood that love sometimes requires letting go. And it was also the beginning of a new Andrea. One who was finally learning what it meant to build a life with her own hands. Robert gave us both exactly what we needed. Not what we wanted, what we needed. And although the path was painful, I would not change it, because this pain saved us both. 3 months after that visit from Andrea, my life had found a rhythm I never imagined possible. I woke up at 6 in the morning. I made coffee, reviewed emails from tenants, studied my real estate courses. And in the afternoons, I worked on a project that had given me back something I thought lost forever. A purpose. I was turning one of the properties Robert left me, an old house in Phoenix, into a shelter for older women like me. Women who had lost everything, who had been abandoned by their families, who needed a place to rebuild themselves. I called it House of New Beginnings. The name occurred to me one night while reading Robert's letter for the umpteenth time, because that was what I had done. Begin again. Andrea came to visit me every 2 weeks, always on her day off, always bringing something simple. Pastries, flowers from the market, or simply her company. Every time she came, I saw her differently. Thinner, yes, more tired too. But there was something in her eyes that was not there before. Light. One afternoon in April, Andrea arrived with news. Mom, I got promoted. At Starbucks. Yes, now I am a shift supervisor. I earn a little more. And I have 2 days off a week instead of 1. She sat at the table, proud but humble. It is not much, but it is mine. It is a lot, honey. It is a lot. I also enrolled in a course. What kind of course? Professional barista. I want to learn for real. Not just make basic coffees. I want to specialize. I looked at her with amazement. Andrea, that is wonderful. Maybe someday I can open my own coffee shop. Something small. Something honest. Her words filled my heart. Your father would be proud. She smiled sadly. Sometimes I talk to him, in my mind. I tell him, Dad, I understood. I finally understood. And what do you think he would answer? I think he would say, You took your time, Andrea, but you arrived. We laughed, but it was a laugh with tears. A week later, I received an unexpected call. It was Eleanor. She sounded agitated. Arlette, can you come to my house? It is urgent. What happened? Mrs. Eleanor, are you okay? I am, but I need you to come, please. I arrived at her house in an hour. It was an elegant residence in the Hamptons. Robert had bought it for her years ago. Eleanor received me at the door. She looked older, more fragile. Come in. Come in. Thank you for coming. She took me to the living room. There was someone else there, a young woman, 30-something, elegant, blonde hair, green eyes, Arlette. She is Gabriela Mendez. The woman stood up, extended her hand. Mrs. Morgan, nice to meet you. I am sorry to bother you. Do we know each other? Gabriela looked at Eleanor. Eleanor nodded. Mrs. Morgan, I was your husband's personal assistant during the last 3 years of his life. I felt a hollow in my stomach. I see. I came because there is something you need to know. Something Mr. Robert asked me to tell you only if you needed it. What thing? Gabriela took a deep breath. Your husband knew he was sick for 4 years. Not 2 as the letter said. 4. 4 years, yes. And during those 4 years, he prepared everything meticulously. Not just the properties, not just the will. Gabriela took a folder from her bag. He investigated Andrea. He hired private investigators to know exactly what she spent the money on, who she hung out with, what values she had. I felt a chill. Why? Because he needed to be sure he was doing the right thing. He needed evidence, not assumptions. She opened the folder. There were photographs, bank statements, printed emails. Andrea owed money to a lot of people, informal lenders, friends, acquaintances. Mr. Robert paid all those debts without telling anyone. How much? $300,000 in total. I put my hand to my mouth. My God. But that is not all. Andrea had also forged his signature on 2 occasions. To take out loans using Mr. Robert's properties as collateral. What Mr. Robert discovered it in time, stopped the loans, paid the penalties, and he never told Andrea anything. Eleanor intervened with tears in her eyes. I did not know either, Arlette. I found out a week ago. Gabriela told me. Why are you telling me this now? Gabriela closed the folder. Because Mr. Robert left me specific instructions. He told me, if Andrea learns, if she changes, if she becomes a good person, destroy all this information. Let her never find out what she did. And if she did not change, then I was to give it to you. So you knew the complete truth. She looked out the window. But it is not necessary. Andrea changed. I have seen her myself. She works. She makes an effort. She is a different person. Then why are you showing me this? Because Mr. Robert also wanted you to know something else. Something he could never tell you while alive. Gabriella took an envelope from the bottom of the folder. This is a letter. The last one he wrote. 2 days before dying. She handed me the envelope. My hands were shaking. I opened it. Arlette, if Gabriella is giving you this letter, it means Andrea made it. It means my plan worked. Or maybe it was not my plan. Maybe it was your strength, your love, your wisdom. I want you to know something I never told you. I was afraid. Afraid of dying and leaving you unprotected. Afraid that Andrea would destroy you. Afraid that my death would be the end of everything we built. But then I looked at you. I looked at you for real. And I saw a woman who had dedicated her life to caring for others, for me, or for Andrea, for my mother, for everyone. And I asked myself, who takes care of Arlette? No one. You took care of yourself in silence, without complaining, without asking for anything. And then I understood something. You did not need me to leave you money. You needed me to leave you permission. Permission to be selfish, to put yourself first, to say no. Permission to discover who you were when no one needed you. That is why I left you the warehouse. Not because it was little, but because it was the beginning. The place where I was born as a businessman. The place where you would be born as a free woman. Andrea needed to fall. You needed to fly. And I trusted that both would happen. Arlette, I loved you from the first day. But in the end, I respected you more than I loved you. Because I saw in you something you did not see. Strength. A silent strength. Unbreakable. Eternal. Gabriella has instructions to give you something else. A last gift. But only if Andrea changed. Only if there was justice. Because justice is not revenge. It is balance. And now my love there is balance. I love you. Always. Robert. Tears did not let me read the last lines. Eleanor hugged me. Cry, daughter. Cry everything you need. I cried. I cried for that man who loved me in ways I did not understand, who protected me even after death. When I finally calmed down, Gabriella handed me another envelope. This is the last gift from Mr. Robert. I opened it. Inside there was a legal document and a key. What is this? It is the deed to an apartment in Hillcrest, the one Mr. Robert and you rented when you got married. Do you remember it? Yes, our first home. Mr. Robert bought it 10 years ago without telling anyone, and now it is yours. I looked at the address. It was the same building, the same floor, probably the same apartment where we started our life together. Why, Gabriella smiled tenderly. Because he told me. If Arlette gets this far, it means she no longer needs the warehouse. She needs to return home, but to a home that is only hers. I collapsed, not from sadness, from gratitude. Robert knew me. He knew me so well that he had planned even this, the moment when I would be ready to have a real home again. That night I told Andrea everything. We were sitting in the warehouse, which would soon stop being my home. Andrea listened in silence. When I finished, she was crying too. Mom, Dad saved me. But you saved me more. Me. Yes, because Dad gave me the lesson. But you gave me the opportunity to learn it. You could have rescued me at any moment. And you did not. It was the hardest thing I did in my life. I know. And for that, I will be grateful forever. Andrea took my hand. Mom, can I ask you something? Anything. When I open my coffee shop, will you help me? How not with money? With advice, with your experience. You have learned so much these months. Andrea, it would be an honor. We hugged. And in that moment, I understood what Robert had planned from the beginning. He did not just want to save me. He did not just want to save Andrea. He wanted us to save each other, because that is what true love does. It does not solve everything. It does not always rescue, but it creates the conditions for each one to find their own path. And in the end, those paths cross again, stronger, wiser, humbler. 2 weeks later, I moved to the Hillcrest apartment. It was small, much smaller than the house where I lived 30 years, but it was mine, completely mine. And when I opened the windows and let the light in, I felt something I had not felt in years. Peace. Peace with my past, peace with my present, peace with my future. Robert had died, but his love was still alive. In every decision I made, in every lesson I learned, in every moment I chose dignity over comfort. And Andrea was finally free. Free from expectations, free from easy wealth. Free from being the spoiled girl who never had to fight. Now she was a woman, with calluses on her hands, with her own dreams, with a future she herself was building. Karma was not cruel to either of us. It was fair. And justice, when it arrives, does not destroy. It heals. It has been 2 years since that night in the warehouse. 2 years since I opened that safe and discovered my life was just beginning. Today, I am 62 years old, and for the first time in my life, I know who I am. I am not Robert's wife. I am not Andrea's mother. I am not the perfect daughter-in-law, nor the complacent friend. I am Arlette. Simply Arlette. And that is enough. I wake up every morning in my Hillcrest apartment, that small apartment where Robert and I started, where we dreamed, where we were happy with so little. Now I see it with other eyes, no longer as a place where my marriage started, but as the place where my freedom started. I have breakfast at the same Formica table I kept from those years. Robert kept it all this time. I found it in the warehouse wrapped in plastic with a note that said, just in case one day you want to remember how we started. He always knew, always. After breakfast, I review the properties. Numbers no longer scare me. Contracts no longer confuse me. I learned, slowly, with mistakes, but I learned. And now I teach. House of New Beginnings opened its doors a year ago. It is a shelter for women over 50 who lost everything, who were abandoned, who need to start over. We have space for 12 women, each with her own room, her own space. We give them a roof, food. But above all, we give them something no one else offers. Time. Time to heal, to learn, to discover that life does not end when you lose what you thought defined you. I give workshops twice a week. Basic administration, personal finance, how to read a contract, how to defend your rights. Women arrive broken, with dull eyes, with trembling hands, and little by little, I see them reborn. As I was reborn, one of them is named Sylvia. She is 58 years old. Her son kicked her out of her house after she was widowed. He told her she was a burden, just like Andrea told me. Sylvia arrived at House of New Beginnings 6 months ago. She did not speak, barely ate. She spent her time sitting in the garden looking at nothing. I sat with her, in silence, because sometimes silence is the only language pain understands. One day after 3 weeks, Sylvia finally spoke. "Why do you help me? You do not even know me, because someone would have helped me if I had not had the luck I had." Luck. You call being kicked out of your house. Luck I call discovering I could survive without it luck. Sylvia looked at me with tears in her eyes. I do not know if I can survive. I did not know either. But here I am. Today, Sylvia works in a bakery, saves every dollar, smiles again, and tells me that someday she is going to have her own business. I believe her, because if I could, anyone can. Andrea comes to House of New Beginnings every week, not as a visitor, as a volunteer. She teaches coffee preparation classes, teaches women to make cappuccinos, lattes, espressos. If they are going to look for a job, she tells them, let it be with knowledge, with real skills. The women adore her, because Andrea understands what it is to fall, what it is to lose everything, what it is to have to start from scratch at 38. 6 months ago, Andrea opened her coffee shop. It is called the Haven Cafe. It is small, 10 tables, a bar, walls painted by hand by herself. But it is hers, completely hers. I invested in the business, not as a gift, as a loan, with interest, with a legal contract. Andrea insisted it be like that. Mom, if you give it to me, I am not going to value it. I need to earn it. I need to pay you back little by little. And she is doing it. Every month she pays her quota, sometimes complete, other times half, but she always pays, and I keep that money. Not for me, for her, for the day she wants to expand her business. But I have not told her that. Not yet. The cafe is doing well. It is not a millionaire success, but it is stable, honest, real. Andrea works 12 hours a day, arrives home exhausted, smelling of coffee and milk, with stained hands, and she is the happiest I have seen her in her life. One Sunday while we were having breakfast together at her cafe, now it is our tradition, she told me something I will never forget. Mom, do you know what is the weirdest thing, what that now? I have less money than ever. I live in a small apartment. I have no car. I have no designer clothes. And yet I am happy. Why do you think that is? She thought for a moment. Because now I know I can. I can get up. I can work. I can build something with my hands. I am no longer afraid of losing everything because I already lost it once and survived. She took my hand. Dad gave me the fear. You gave me the strength to face it. I cried right there. At that table in the Haven Cafe, surrounded by the aroma of fresh coffee and the sound of soft conversations of customers. I cried with pride, with gratitude, with love. Eleanor passed away 4 months ago. It was peaceful, at her home surrounded by Andrea and me. Her last words were, Robert was right. He was always right. She left everything to Andrea. But it was not much. Just the house and some savings, about $200,000. Andrea sold the house, paid for the funeral, and with what was left, she opened a scholarship fund at the university where her grandmother studied. I want other women to study without having to depend on anyone, she told me. As Grandma would have wanted, she did not keep a single dollar, and I knew in that moment that my daughter had finally understood. Money is not bad, but it is not the answer. The answer is in what you do with it, in how you use it, in whether it builds or destroys. Today is a special day, the anniversary of Robert's death. Every year on this date, I go to the cemetery. I bring him flowers, and I tell him how things are. Andrea accompanies me. We stand in front of his grave. The tombstone is simple, as he would have wanted. Robert Morgan, husband, father, builder of dreams. Hello, Dad. Andrea says, kneeling down. I come to give you good news. The cafe is going well. This month I sold 1,200 cups. I hired my first employee and I am thinking of opening a second location. She smiles with tears in her eyes. I know you are proud. I feel it in every coffee I make, in every customer I serve, in every dollar I earn. She gets up, gives me space. I kneel down, touch the tombstone. It is cold, but somehow it is also alive. Hello, my love. It has been 2 difficult years, but they have also been the most important of my life. I take a deep breath. I met Arlette. I finally met her, and I like her. I like that woman who sleeps alone and is not afraid, who makes decisions without asking for permission, who helps other women find their way. I wipe my tears. I know you are watching me. I know you are with us, and I want you to know something. Your plan worked. Andrea is okay. I am okay. And the 2 of us are together, but truly together, not out of obligation, by choice. I kiss the tombstone. Thank you, Robert, for loving me enough to let me go, for believing in me when I did not believe in myself, for teaching me that true love is not possession, it is liberation. Andrea and I walked back to the car in silence. Before getting in, she stops me. Mom, can I tell you something always? For a long time, I hated Dad. I hated his plan. I hated that he left me with nothing. I thought it was cruel. And now I understand it was the greatest act of love of his life, because he loved me enough to hurt me, to force me to grow. She smiles. And you loved me enough to let me fall, not to rescue me, to trust that I could get up alone. She hugs me tight. Thank you, Mom, for not being the mother I wanted, for being the mother I needed. Those words stay with me all the way home. That night alone in my apartment, I open my laptop. I have been writing, not a book, a testimony. The story of a woman who lost everything and found everything at the same time. The story of a husband who loved in silence and protected from death. The story of a daughter who had to fall to learn to fly. And the story of a family that broke to be able to heal for real. I do not know if anyone is going to read it. I do not know if it matters. But I write it because I need to close this chapter. I need to leave testimony that pain, when used well, does not destroy. It transforms. I finish writing. Save the file and go out to the balcony. The city is alive. Lights, sounds, movement. And I, for the first time in 62 years, feel part of it. Not as a spectator, as a protagonist. I look at the stars and whisper. If my story helps a single woman open her eyes, it will have been worth it. Because that is what I learned these 2 years, that suffering without purpose is tragedy. But suffering with purpose is wisdom, and wisdom, when shared, becomes a legacy. This is my legacy. Not the money, not the properties, not the companies. My legacy is this truth. It is never too late to start over. It is never too late to discover who you are. And never, never is it too late to choose your dignity over your comfort. Andrea has her cafe. I have House of New Beginnings, and together we are building something Robert could only dream of. A future where women do not depend on anyone, where love is freedom, not prison, where mothers teach strength, not submission, and where daughters learn that falling is not the end, it is the beginning. I go to sleep that night with a deep peace. Robert is in peace, Andrea is in peace, and I finally am in peace, because I understood something fundamental. Life is not about avoiding pain. It is about transforming it into something beautiful. And that is exactly what we did. Robert left us the map. I followed it. Andrea completed it. And now that map is available for anyone who needs it. Because we all deserve to be reborn. We all deserve a second chance. And we all deserve to know that we are enough exactly as we are. Thank you for listening to the end. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone you love. Sometimes a story like this can change a whole day. Every day a woman, a life lesson. God bless you, and see you next time.